Shocked SpaceX engineers just watch China do the impossible. While Elon builds $100 million mechanical arms to catch rockets, China's using nets. Actual fishing nets to snag multi-ton rockets falling from space at 500 miles per hour. Plot twist: Elon tried this exact method and called it too crazy. But China's test footage just went viral, and now everyone's asking, did SpaceX just abandon the breakthrough that could change everything? Let's dive right in. February 2019. Deep inside SpaceX's Hawthorne facility, a classified meeting was taking place. On the table, grainy surveillance footage from a Chinese aerospace company called Space Transportation. The images showed something that made Elon Musk's top engineers go completely silent. A rocket stage falling from the sky, straight into a giant net. "This is exactly what we rejected 3 years ago," one engineer whispered. The room erupted. Some called it brilliant. Others predicted catastrophic failure. But everyone knew one thing: if China pulled this off, everything would change. September 2024. The video hit social media like a digital earthquake. A sleek rocket stage looking suspiciously identical to SpaceX's own Starship design descended through clouds with surgical precision. Variable thrust engines fired in perfect sequence. Aerodynamic flaps adjusted micro-movements. Then came the moment that stopped the aerospace world cold. The rocket didn't land on a pad. It didn't crash into the ocean. Instead, it fell gracefully into a massive dual-net system. An upper net for initial capture, a lower net for impact absorption. Like a circus act performed with multi-ton spacecraft traveling at 500 miles per hour. The technical community went berserk. Comments flooded in: "Impossible physics. This violates everything we know. If this works, SpaceX is finished." But buried in those comments was one that changed everything. Wait, didn't SpaceX try this exact method years ago? Here's where the story gets explosive. Leaked internal memos from 2018 reveal SpaceX didn't just consider the net recovery method, they actively developed it for 6 months. Codenamed Project Trapeze, the initiative consumed $50 million and involved SpaceX's most brilliant minds. They built scale models, ran computer simulations, even tested prototype nets with quarter-scale rocket stages. The project made it all the way to Elon Musk's desk with a 200-page technical report. The conclusion? Net recovery could reduce infrastructure costs by 90% and enable rocket operations from virtually anywhere on Earth. So why did Musk kill it? One sentence buried on page 187, recommended termination due to precision requirements exceeding current guidance system capabilities. Translation: SpaceX's computers weren't smart enough to pull it off. Yet. Let's break down exactly what China is attempting and why it's either genius or suicide. SpaceX's Mechazilla system costs $150 million per tower. Each installation requires 18 months of construction, 2,000 tons of steel, and can only operate from fixed locations. The catch arms move in real time, compensating for any flight path deviations within milliseconds. China's net system? Potentially $15 million total cost. Deployable anywhere on Earth within 48 hours. But here's the terrifying part: zero margin for error. The rocket must hit a target area measuring exactly 50 meters by 30 meters. That's smaller than a football field. Miss by even 2 degrees, and you've got a 200-ton projectile creating an underwater crater. The precision required makes landing on an aircraft carrier look simple. Material scientist Dr. Elena Rodriguez from Caltech ran the numbers, and her conclusion was chilling. This shouldn't be possible with any known technology. The forces involved are absolutely devastating. During SpaceX's early Starship tests, the rocket's thrust literally destroyed concrete launch pads, melting steel and creating underground shockwaves. Now imagine that same force concentrated on fiber nets. The temperature alone exceeds 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt copper instantly. The impact force equals roughly 500 car crashes happening simultaneously. Wind shear from the engines creates turbulence that has previously shredded titanium components. Yet Chinese engineers claim their composite fiber technology can handle it. The secret? They won't say. but intelligence suggests they've developed metamaterials using techniques borrowed from China's hypersonic weapons program. During a 2020 interview with Tim Dodd, Musk made a statement that perfectly explains why SpaceX abandoned nets. The optimized landing propellant is only about 5% of the dry mass. So reducing landing propellant by using softer landing methods is not a game changer for overall system efficiency. But here's what Musk didn't mention. That 5% calculation assumes perfect conditions. In reality, SpaceX often uses 15 to 20% extra propellant for landing margins, weather compensation, and trajectory adjustments. China's net system could eliminate all of that excess propellant. We're talking about payload increases of 10 to 15 tons per flight. At SpaceX's current pricing, that's $150 million in additional revenue per launch. Did Musk miscalculate? Or is he watching China's experiment to see if his original assessment was wrong? Here's where this story takes a shocking turn. Satellite imagery from November 2024 reveals something SpaceX doesn't want you to know. They're secretly testing their own net recovery system. The evidence is hidden in plain sight at SpaceX's McGregor facility. New construction shows a circular concrete pad with unusual anchor points around the perimeter. Materials deliveries include high-tensile steel cables and composite mesh materials. Most damning, shipping records show SpaceX ordered the exact same specialized fiber technology that China's space transportation has been developing. SpaceX isn't just watching China's experiment. They're running their own parallel program. A classified Pentagon assessment obtained through FOIA requests reveals the true scope of China's ambitions. The net recovery system isn't just about rockets. It's about military dominance. The same technology that catches civilian spacecraft could intercept military satellites, disabled enemy rockets, or recover sensitive payloads mid-flight. China's Circus Act is actually a weapon system disguised as aerospace innovation. The report's conclusion sent shockwaves through the Pentagon. If operational, Chinese net recovery capabilities could fundamentally alter the balance of power in space warfare. Suddenly, SpaceX's secret testing makes perfect sense. They're not just trying to stay competitive, they're racing to protect national security. January 2025. Deep inside China's Wenchang Space Center, something extraordinary happened. According to sources within the Chinese space program, space transportation successfully caught a rocket stage weighing 50 tons traveling at 400 miles per hour. The catch wasn't perfect. The rocket stage damaged the lower net and required emergency stabilization. But it worked. For the first time in history, someone had literally caught a falling rocket with nets. The Chinese team celebrated for exactly 47 minutes. Then they realized what they'd actually accomplished. They'd proven the impossible was possible. Within hours, emergency meetings were called at SpaceX, Blue Origin, and every major aerospace company worldwide. The Circus Act had just become the industry standard. The secret behind China's success wasn't better materials or improved guidance systems. It was something far more ingenious. They cheated physics. Instead of trying to catch a rapidly descending rocket, they figured out how to make the rocket catch itself. The net isn't passive at all. It's an active electromagnetic field generator that creates a magnetic cushion effect. The rocket stage carries superconducting components that interact with the field, creating natural deceleration without physical contact. The visible nets are just safety backups for the invisible electromagnetic catching system. It's technology that NASA abandoned in the 1970s because computers weren't powerful enough to control it. China just proved that modern AI could solve the control problem. Behind the public competition lies a darker reality. This isn't just about rocket recovery. It's about who controls the future of space access. China's net system enables rapid deployment of launch capabilities anywhere on Earth. Imagine rocket operations from remote islands, mobile sea platforms, or even hostile territories. Traditional launch infrastructure becomes obsolete overnight. SpaceX's fixed towers, for all their technological brilliance, represent yesterday's thinking. They're massive, expensive, and geographically limited. China's system is portable, cheap, and deployable anywhere there's open space. The implications are staggering. Countries that could never afford traditional space programs could suddenly become space powers. The global launch monopoly held by a few nations would shatter. Space transportation has announced their operational timeline. Full-scale demonstrations by December 2025, commercial operations by mid-2026. They're not testing anymore. They're preparing for mass production. Meanwhile, SpaceX's secret program remains hidden behind classification barriers. But industry insiders report they're at least 18 months behind China's development timeline. For the first time since the company's founding, SpaceX isn't leading a technological revolution. They're desperately trying to catch up to one. The question keeping aerospace executives awake at night? What happens when China's Impossible Circus Act becomes routine reality and the rest of the world is still building expensive towers? In a private conversation recorded at the 2025 Satellite Conference, Elon Musk made a stunning admission. We may have been wrong about nets. If China pulls this off, we'll have to completely rethink our recovery strategy. The recording, leaked by an anonymous attendee, reveals Musk's growing concern about SpaceX's strategic position. For the first time, the man who revolutionized rocket reusability was admitting he might have missed something crucial. The aerospace community went silent. If Elon Musk, the engineer who made impossible things routine, was reconsidering his position, maybe China's Circus Act wasn't so crazy after all. As we watch this technological drama unfold, one question dominates every engineering discussion, every boardroom meeting, every strategic planning session. What if the most advanced aerospace company in history got it wrong? What if the impossible solution everyone laughed at becomes the foundation for the next generation of space operations? What if China's Flying Circus Act makes SpaceX's billion-dollar towers look like obsolete monuments to yesterday's thinking? The answers are coming faster than anyone expected, and they might change everything we thought we knew about reaching space. So here we are, SpaceX engineers shocked by technology they once rejected, China turning circus acts into aerospace breakthroughs, and the entire space industry scrambling to catch up to something everyone called impossible. The net recovery system represents more than just rocket catching. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about space access. While we've been obsessing over bigger towers and stronger arms, China quietly asked a different question. What if we don't need any of that at all? This story isn't over. It's just beginning. Because whether China's nets work perfectly or fail spectacularly, they've already accomplished something revolutionary. They've forced the entire industry to question everything. The next few months will determine who was right, SpaceX's mechanical precision or China's audacious simplicity, expensive infrastructure or portable innovation, the engineering establishment or the circus performers. But here's the real question that'll keep you thinking long after this video ends. In a world where impossible becomes routine, what other crazy ideas are we dismissing right now that might just change everything? What do you think? Are we witnessing the birth of a new space age or watching China set themselves up for spectacular failure? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation is far from over. NASA is shocked. SpaceX astronauts will actually sleep inside empty rocket fuel tanks on the moon. These giant metal tanks become bedrooms in space. Sounds crazy, right? But Elon Musk just proved it works better than anything NASA built in 50 years. The tanks are huge, bigger than your entire house, and they bury them under moon dirt to stop space rocks. But wait, there's one deadly problem nobody talks about. Something that could kill every astronaut up there. What is it, and how does SpaceX solve it? Let's dive right in. That deadly problem I mentioned, it's lunar dust, and it's been NASA's nightmare for 56 years. Here's what they don't want you to know. Apollo 17 astronaut Harrison Schmitt almost died on the moon. Not from equipment failure, not from oxygen loss, from breathing microscopic glass daggers. Picture this. You're 240,000 miles from Earth. You've just finished a moonwalk. Your suit looks dirty but harmless. Just gray powder, right? Wrong. The moment you step inside your spacecraft, you smell gunpowder. Your throat burns like fire. Your nose bleeds. Welcome to what NASA secretly calls lunar hay fever, except it can kill you. This dust isn't normal dirt. It's billions of razor-sharp glass fragments, each one smaller than a human hair, but sharper than surgical scalpels. When cosmic radiation bombards the moon for millions of years, it creates these microscopic weapons. And they're electrically charged, meaning they stick to everything: your suit, your equipment, your lungs. But here's the terrifying part NASA hid from the public. Schmidt's condition got worse every day he stayed on the moon. By day 3, he could barely breathe. Doctors later found glass particles embedded in his respiratory system. If the mission had lasted one more day, he might not have made it home. So how does sleeping in fuel tanks solve this 56-year-old death trap? While NASA spent decades and billions trying to solve the dust problem with traditional habitats, SpaceX walked in with a solution so simple it made everyone else look stupid. Think about it. Traditional moon-based plans required shipping prefabricated modules from Earth at $10,000 per kilogram. A single room would cost more than a skyscraper. Then you'd have to assemble everything on the lunar surface while wearing bulky spacesuits and fighting that killer dust. SpaceX said, "What if we don't build anything at all?" Their Starship rocket has 2 massive fuel tanks. Once it lands on the moon, those tanks are empty, but they're also enormous. Each tank has more living space than a luxury mansion. Combined, they're bigger than the entire International Space Station. So instead of throwing away this massive space, SpaceX converts the rocket itself into the home. One mission delivers both transportation and the base. Genius. But the real breakthrough isn't the space. It's how they eliminate the dust problem entirely. Here's where SpaceX's plan gets absolutely wild. They don't just put astronauts in tanks. They bury the entire rocket underground. Picture a massive metal submarine lying on the ocean floor, except it's buried under 10 feet of lunar soil. This isn't just protection from meteorites. It's the ultimate dust filtration system. When astronauts return from spacewalks, they don't enter the living area directly. They go through underground tunnels carved into the lunar soil. As they move through these tunnels, the thick layers of moon dirt naturally filter out the deadly dust particles before they ever reach the clean living areas. It's like having a giant car wash that removes invisible glass daggers. The dust that killed Apollo missions gets trapped in the soil, exactly where it belongs. But NASA discovered something even more shocking about living in buried fuel tanks. Remember, we're talking about astronauts living inside what used to hold rocket fuel. Sounds claustrophobic and depressing, right?